Hey, it's Matt, your average gamer, and this is basically part 2 of a video that I did on Monday. This is something else that you can do with Bloodflame that's really fun. Let's get into the details. Now, when I was using the Raptor Talons, I was trying out different weapons with Bloodflame Blade, and one of the things I realized was that the Nightrider Flail with the stock ash on it, which is spinning chain, I believe, can build up a substantial amount of bleed. It benefits from successive attack talismans and the Thorny tier, and it's actually really powerful to use if you're able to pull it off and time it right. It can shred bosses' HP. That's why I kind of labeled this as part 2, because I tried a whole bunch of different weapons with Bloodflame Blade, and this turned out to be one of the ones that was really fun. And I attached, by the way, the Raptor's Talons build, which was awesome with this, because they have the same stats, obviously. And that innate bleed with the Bloodflame Blade on top of it gives us a lot of bleed buildup, and with a skill like this, where we can just constantly spin it as long as you have enough endurance and FP, can build up bleed and damage fairly quickly. And on Journey 5, we're able to take the tougher Draconic Tree Sentinel down, as well as Mog at the beginning of this video, very easily with this Ash of War or regular skill, because it's able to build up so fast, benefits from all the successive attack stuff as we mentioned, and obviously we have that quick bleed buildup as well. This is where I initially tested it on the troll. I've been using this troll at Stormville a lot lately to kind of test out builds, and that was when I realized when I was using the Raptor Talons how good the regular skill on the Nightrider Flail is and how quickly it can build up bleed. This was just something that I thought of that I was doing when I was using the Raptor Talons build. That's why I called it part 2 essentially, because they're very much alike. There's a lot you can do with Bloodflame Blade and Elden Ring. This, by the way, is also something, given the early area that you can get the Nightrider Flail and Bloodflame Blade in secondary and Liurny of the Lakes, you can do this very early too. So you can get Bloodflame Blade, have this spin on it, probably shred some of the early bosses in the game with a lot of bleed buildup. It's going to be very easy going forward. And of course there's things like Spinning Slash, but you're going to see this here, how much it chews through the Godskin Apostle here once he's asleep. It does a lot of damage to him. Now, a good setup, by the way, early game would be to get regular Rotten Winged, Bloodflame Blade, and then use this spinning chain, and you're going to get a ridiculous amount of bleed buildup with that setup very early in the game as well. Obviously, this can be a late game build. This will be really powerful early too. So you're going to see us shred the Godskin Apostle here with a simple skill on the Nightrider Flail. It's something that absolutely does shred, and I just wanted to share this video with people that were starting out because it's something that you could do as an alternative to Spinning Slash. And if you're at the mid or late game, this is something that works well too, but you're going to want to summon, obviously, if you're going to use this Ash of War. It doesn't have a ton of hyper armor, so you can get knocked down very easily. Just be aware of that. Again, doesn't have a ridiculous amount of hyper armor, a little bit of a wind-up time. Summons could probably make it easier, but overall, it's a really powerful setup to use Bloodflame Blade on. Real quick, because I was here and people always ask me about this weapon, I'm going to show you where to get the Godslayer's Greatsword. You get this at the Divine Tower of Caelid. I'm going to show it on the map in a second. Once you work your way to the bottom, beat the Godskin Apostle boss that's at the bottom, you can pick up the Godslayer's Greatsword. Fantastic weapon, by the way. Maybe doing a build for that soon, but that's where it is. Now, for regular mobs, this isn't bad at all. You can obviously use the regular hits. We're not doing jump attacks or anything like we did with the Raptor Talons, but as far as this goes, the Ash of War will pretty much shred the majority of regular mobs, and regular hits with Bloodflame Blade will do a lot of damage as well. Now, while we show it off on mobs here, I just want to say this. As far as some of the bosses in the game, in the Raptor Talons build, you saw me take on the Godskin Duo and the Fire Giant and shred them. Probably do the same exact thing with this. You already saw it on the Godskin Apostle. If you're having a hard time with the Fire Giant, this would be one of those builds where if you're going to use this on his ankle, especially in the first phase, it's going to completely shred him for massive damage. Also, I wanted to say real quick, if you're not subbed, definitely sub to this channel if you love overpowered PvE builds. We've been doing a ton of content lately. There's a ton of builds on this channel in general. This was part 2 of another build. Doing a lot of new builds lately. It's been pretty crazy, so be sure to hit that sub button. And again, this really was just an extension of the other build. There's so much you can do with Bloodflame Blade. I may eventually do a video where I show off all the things you could do with Bloodflame Blade because there's a ton of awesome Ashes of War. I could utilize Bloodflame Blade quite well, like Spinning Slash, and then obviously in my channel we've done other things like Golden Land, which can use Bloodflame Blade even at a distance. I'm not sure that was intended, but you can also do that too. There's a lot you can do with it. It's a really fun thing to put on a weapon. Get a lot of bleed buildup, a lot of damage in general. Be aware too that this doesn't have a crazy amount of reach. You're going to see me get beat up a little bit here as I'm trying to utilize it, try to get used to the Ash of War, regular skill rather. It doesn't have a ton of range on it. It's not something that has a ridiculous amount of range, so you're going to have to be close to the enemy, but when you are, you can see how it just chews through HP. It's really awesome how it's able to do that. This is one of those things where it's just a really fun build to do. It's something that's enjoyable to do, be able to pull off. When you use spinning chain, you're able to build up bleed, see how much you can stack with successive and consecutive attack stuff, just see how much damage you can do, and just how much you can stack in general. It's a really fun build, like I mentioned. It's something where you can utilize this in the early game, in the mid game, in the late game, and you can just spin and spin and spin and get all that build up, all that damage, all that bleed. Take advantage of Bloodflame Blade, which lasts a minute, by the way. Does a little bit of fire damage too, so you have that bonus in there. It's definitely something to utilize if you want a flail build. This is something that works really well with it. Be sure to check out that Raptor Talons build. That's a little bit better. That's in the description below. Once again, this was just something that I put together after I was taking clips of different things I was doing with Bloodflame Blade. And I looked at this and I was like, this is a really cool build. This is something that you can use. It's a little build for the flail, Bloodflame Blade, using the regular skill on it. It's pretty awesome. Now let's get into equipment. Now for equipment, we have the Nightrider Flail, preferably plus 25. Any seal will do. We have a random armor set on, partial Crucible Knight set. You're going to want at least 55 Poise for this build. Rotten Wing Sword Insignia, Ritual Swords Talisman, Lord of Blood's Exultation, Millicent's Prosthesis, Thorny tier, then we have the Faith tier for buffs as well. Now, since Bloodflame Blade, you can't increase the bleed on it by increasing Faith. You're just going to want the minimum stats there, and then 15 Faith so we can get to 25 with the Faith tier to do Golden Vow. And then you're going to heavily invest in Dexterity to get the most damage out of the flail. You're going to want a little bit of Vigor in mind, obviously, as well. This can chew through Mind and Endurance, so do keep those two stats in mind as far as the Ash of War goes or regular skill goes. It does chew through those. The more you have, obviously, the more you can utilize it. Keep the spinning going, do more damage. As for buffs, this one's not too complicated. We're just going to drink our tier first, and then we're going to do the longer duration stuff like usual I do in most of my videos. Golden Vow, Blessings Boon's completely optional, but it does stack for some extra HP. Then we're going to use Flame Grant Me Strength. Then we get to use Bloodflame Blade on the flail. Then we can constantly do that spinning to build up a lot of damage, a lot of bleed. Really a little fun little skill there. Something you can turn into a build video. It's pretty cool. And it's also something you can do early game too. Like I said, go with regular Rotten Wing, get Bloodflame Blade, get the Nightrider Flail with the spin on it, and you're going to be chewing through the majority of the early game bosses with ease. Once again, the Raptor Talons build, if you haven't seen that, that's in the description below. That's a really awesome build. This was just a little bit of a side project that I was doing when I was working on that other build. It was just something that I wanted to share with you guys. It was a fun little build that you can do with spinning chain, and it's just a lot of fun in general. It's something you can do early too. If you're not subbed to this channel, you love overpowered PvE builds, be sure to check out all the awesome builds on my channel. There's like an entire library there now. As always, thanks for watching. Be sure to sub, and I will catch you guys there.